Today's video, I want to talk about why I haven't really dated, what's the reason behind it, and I also want to address some of the comments to my last vlog style video where I mentioned Rich Roll and his wife, Julie. It's either Piatt or Platt. I thought she said Platt, but on the internet it's written Piatt. So her, I wanted to talk about some of the comments that I got about dating non-vegans, which I haven't really done. Well, I did actually. I haven't actually ever dated a vegan technically, and not having aspirations. So this is all going to be a ball of togetherness. This is Ryan over High Carb Generator. Welcome to my channel. So today I wanted to talk about why I haven't really dated, and go from there. I think so. The reason I really haven't dated is I wanted to kind of find myself. I've always lived she's living with me again. My ex is living with me again, but my entire life I have lived with somebody else. I went from living with my parents, then living with my ex-wife. Well, she wasn't wife at the time. And then I went into, I got divorced, and then I was with my parents again because I went back to school for a while. And then Sandy and I got together, and then we lived together. And it's never happened. So I just kind of wanted to see my patterns. I also had an aging cat. Nobody really asked me about this, but it is something I wanted to talk about because I see a lot of people hopping in and out of relationships, and I just really didn't want to do that because people think that they're going to find happiness with somebody else. You hear this all the time, he or she makes me happy or something along those lines, and I'm like, oof, if that is your basis for being in a relationship, I mean, it might work, but I just don't see how it's going to work. It's just, you have to find happiness within yourself. There might be obviously there's other things in the other person that you don't have, sexually, but there's going to be personality traits in the other person that you don't have and vice versa. That's not saying that going into a relationship, you should be changing the other person. I think that is the worst thing ever. Unfortunately, I've kind of gotten into that situation myself. I'm never doing that again. But I really just was trying to figure out what it is that I actually like, what it is. I'm a strong personality, but I do, tend to adopt some other people's things. And that's kind of why I didn't get into a relationship and I really suck at the whole thing. I've always dated somebody who I went to school with. I went to school with everybody I've ever dated, everybody I've ever had a relationship with, everybody I either dated or worked with. I had that kind of, like the relationship was there in some format, and then just kind of escalated from there. I'm not good at small talk, so I'm not good at just walking up to people. Unfortunately, everybody thinks that if you're on YouTube that's something that you would be good at, but it's just not something. I don't care about the weather. I don't care about like the small talk. It's not like I can't do it. It's just like I'm already outside, or like there's a window right there. I already know what the weather is. I don't need to talk about that or whatever it is. So I'm not very good with that. I'm a good listener, I guess. But yeah, so that's it in a nutshell. I always wanted to kind of just live by myself and discover who I am. At that time, I was going to say unfortunately, but not unfortunately. It was probably the best part of my life is taking care of my sick cat. It taught me like that selfless love that I had never had before in my life. Like, I'm not saying that I fully adopted it, but I've never had that before. Towards the end of her existence in that format, she was really a handful, and I finally learned that ability to have selfless like love, like just taking care of something or someone or somebody, and that is an invaluable lesson that I learned, and I'm glad that I did it. A lot of people are really addicted to sex. I can't say that I'm any different. It's like my favorite activity. but I'm not really one who's going to jump from person to person to person. I like a relationship of some kind, or like some kind of connection. Otherwise, like I mentioned before, that the thing, just things don't work. And that's it. That's it in a nutshell. I wanted to talk about what I said about Rich Roll and Julie Piatt, because it's kind of along these lines. I was watching him. Rich Roll actually interviewed his wife, and what they were talking about really interested me. They had met. They were in pretty terrible, or maybe they weren't in terrible relationships. I can't remember. It was like a year ago. But they had been divorced, and they were coming together, and they were talking about their likes and dislikes and what they wanted to do. And they had decided that they were both pursuing something. He was pursuing Ironman, and I think the podcast thing together at the same time. And she has a couple of companies. I think they're vegan companies, maybe not. And I think like self-help for people, maybe just women. And they were pursuing this together, separately, but together. And they decided that they were only going to pursue this. And if it ended up that they were homeless because of it, they were pursuing their dreams, that was something that was agreeable terms, that they could come to grips with that. And that was the reference that I made when I was in that last video. That's all I was talking about. I'm not talking about like, somebody said something like, well, who wants somebody with a low standard? That is like the highest standard, I think, that there is. Somebody who's actually advancing confidently, like William Thoreau said, in the endeavor towards their dreams, and they will be met with, success beyond their wildest dreams. The low standard to me is just to go work a job that you hate every day, come home, be miserable, watch TV all night, have no relationship with your family, and go to bed and start over and do it again. That is the lowest standard. That is the lowest denominator that you can possibly get. Other than maybe even homeless might even be a higher standard than that, because at least you're not willing to put up with the nonsense of the day-to-day. I don't know. So that is what I was saying. And here's the thing, like if that is not agreeable to somebody, if they want that low standard, if they want just to go to a 9-to-5 job, and that's fine with them, come home, drink beer, wear a wife beater, and, watch football all day, watch everybody else make money, watch everybody else do what it is that they want in their life. If that is something that you are after, there is plenty of that out there. If you're somebody who is more into the adventure of life and actually living life and actually coming and doing what it is that you're supposed to be doing on this planet, that is a higher standard to me. And I'm not looking for somebody who's looking, if somebody's, looking for a guy who's, just working that 9-to-5 and has just enough money to get by, then, that's on you. So that is what I was saying for that. I got notes here. Dating a non-vegan. Dating a non-vegan. Oh, actually more along those lines. I'll go to number 3. I only wrote 3 things. Somebody said that I have no aspiration. I have no idea where that's coming from, or that I don't want to work at a relationship. No idea. I never remember saying that. If I did say it, I have no idea why I said it. That is not something that I think at all. I think working in a relationship is just part of the relationship. Now, if you are always the person who's like nothing that in your relationship is ever something that you want to do, or something along those lines, if you're, you get treated how you teach people how to treat you. And if you can't say no within a relationship, you're eventually going to have to say no to the relationship. So those are 2 things that I keep in mind. But I mean, I work like 12 hours a day. I start working at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and it's usually 7 o'clock at night before I'm done. So I have no idea. When I first started this channel, I admit I wasn't doing as much because I really was struggling to walk because I had my ankle replaced. And, it's still a struggle, but not anywhere near where it was when I started this channel, But I was running an eBay at that time. I was doing the artwork stuff at that time. I mean, it's never, actually the only reason we had a roof over our head during the plan was because I had my eBay running. Nobody could go out. And I had my eBay running. Now, Sandy did have to help me with that because I was laid up. I wasn't allowed to walk. I really couldn't walk. I couldn't stand. I couldn't. So we were doing that together, but that was the only reason we had a roof over our head, because I had that eBay business going. So anybody who thinks that it would almost be easier for me just to go back to my post office job and just start that again and just whatever shift I get, so that would be easier. I'm not all, it would be easier. That's not my thing. I'd rather enjoy what I'm doing and make a little less, quite a bit less, but I still, again, had a 3-bedroom house over my head when I was by myself. So I do manage. The dating a non-vegan thing, I wanted to touch on this again. That seemed to get some comments in the comment section. And I really, I would think that finding somebody who matches up with everything else in your life would be more important than finding somebody who is just vegan but nothing else matched up whatsoever. Maybe political, this has turned into a political thing now, so maybe somebody's on the far right and somebody's on the far left. I don't think that would work. Maybe it would. I don't know. Just because you're vegan. It's, people put these like real stringent things down. Your perfect person might not even remotely, not even on the same page of the same book of this in the same library as you, but you might be perfect. You might work perfectly, and they might, I don't know, be a hunter or something. I don't know if I could deal with that, but yeah, I don't know. I try not to have any of these real hard, stringent things. I know from what I've been told, you can clean house if you go to vegan festivals. There is one coming up in June of next year here. So I might go to it and see what happens. But I'm not I wouldn't date anybody. This question I do get asked in the DMs and once in a while in email and sometimes in the comment section of, would you date a non-vegan? And the answer is yes. I wasn't vegan when Sandy and I met, and we went vegan together. You might lead by example. You might find somebody that is really struggling or something like that. Might have a lot of acne, and you might be able to help them with that. Say, look, probably the fat and the protein are causing this, and help them out. Maybe show them the starch solution. I don't think too many people want to do raw vegan right off the bat, and I'm not even raw vegan now. But like those twins that McDougall work with, they cured all their acne. I've interviewed Fruit Kid; he lost acne on just high carb, low fat. And as soon as these people add fat back in, the acne comes back, or the protein back in, the acne comes back. So there's something there to that. So they might, there might be something along those lines, or some other thing. Maybe they are struggling in some other area, and they see that you were struggling in that area, and because you went vegan or plant-based or whatever you want to call it, you no longer have that. Now, I have seen it's getting real popular to not be vegan anymore, I've noticed, over the last couple of years. And especially a lot of the vegans that I follow on Instagram are becoming, carnivore again. And it's, so it is what it is. And here's another thing, you might date a vegan just because they're vegan. And all of a sudden, you guys really like each other, but the other person's like, dude, I can't do this vegan anymore. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Like, how's it going to work out? Yeah. I would actually think that the political thing would be harder to deal with than like the experiment. The experiment is a no-go for me. I would rather, the absolute no-go whatsoever. Even if the person's been with somebody who did the experiment, even then I'd be kind of leery and think, I don't know about this. So the experiment, that on the other hand, is a solid, we got to pass on that one. Because I already know that, no. That ain't gonna happen. So that part, yeah, that is more important to me than, you know, what they eat. You know, the only problem is you know, there is more smells to the cooked food. But I go over my parents' house and I really don't notice that anymore. So anyway, I think that's the answer to the question. You know, I mean, nobody's actually asked me about this, but I did want to make a video about my dating life. I really even had one. I was in a 7-year relationship, and then I was in a 16-year relationship. I'm 43, so that's basically all my 20s, all of my 30s, and my 40s so far. I've been in 2 relationships, the long-term relationships. There was a little gap in between my ex and Sandy, a little bit, a couple months. I think 3 or 4 months. But during that time, I was going to school full time and I was working full time. So it really, it just, and you know, nothing really happened. So anyway, that is it. That is what I meant from Rich Roll and his wife Julie, because I don't know what her last name is. I thought they said Piatt. The aspiration thing. And, you know, you just got to advance confidently. Like, I genuinely thought this channel would be bigger than it is. Maybe I talk too much truth. But, yeah. That's it. Yeah, and I'm not saying anything bad against, you know, if 2 people want like that. Like, I know a lot of people, actually a lot of people who just want to do that 9 to 5 and come home, and most of them just like to drink beer, and I don't know what they do. Watch football. You know, I don't even have football. It just seems kind of weird to me to always be basing your life on that. But yes. Anyway, comments, questions. What do you think on the dating topic down below? Like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you in the next video.